Namaste, greetings. My name is Krishna Keshava Das, and I have this Awakening Self blog on Substack and an Instagram account with the same name. I wanted to do a post about the movie Backrooms that I just saw yesterday. So this is going to be a Bhakti-yoga commentary on Backrooms. Warning, this content does contain spoilers. I just saw the new movie Backrooms by Kane Parsons, and going into it, I expected to witness a visually disorienting, overly abstract pop culture phenomenon. Instead, I encountered an engaging storyline that serves as thoughtful social commentary on the nature of the mind, people's struggles to overcome self limiting habits, and humanity's awakening consciousness. The beginning and end of the movie included a narration of a quote speaking to a main theme concerning repetitive loops of behavior. The quote said, "As you walk through life, the untrained mind accumulates loops, habits, behaviors to keep you drifting in circles, creating the same problems, reaching for the same solutions over and over again. Still, it's the neural pathway of least resistance." End quote. At the start of the movie, the narrator goes on to express the need for our consciousness to evolve beyond these self-limiting cycles. The movie begins with the protagonist Clark speaking to his therapist, Dr. Klein. He laments being kicked out of his house after drunkenly breaking a glass and waking his lover, and goes on to justify his regret that he hurts people who get too close, but that's just the way he is. He also expresses discontentment about being stuck owning a furniture store despite having the qualifications of an architect. These details foreshadow themes that develop through the movie. When Clark eventually stumbles into the back rooms through a portal-like wall in the basement of his furniture store, he begins mapping out the labyrinth of surreal rooms, corridors, and objects. The presence of other people is alluded to throughout Clark's mapping expeditions, but who they are isn't revealed until later. Clark enlists his two employees for the expedition, which inevitably doesn't bode well for them. His therapist, Dr. Klein, is eventually pulled into the back rooms as well in an attempt to find Clark, who was MIA in the real world. Towards the end of the movie, it becomes clear that the portions of the back rooms that we've seen mostly correspond to Clark's distorted memories and the labyrinth of his own mind. Depicting the mind as a labyrinth can also be seen in M.C. Escher's 1953 artwork called Relativity, and also in the manga or anime series Yu-Gi-Oh! In the back rooms, the foreboding presence of another who inflicts pain and destruction on visitors is revealed to be an aspect of Clark, as he alluded to during the initial therapy session with Dr. Klein. In a scene towards the end that culminates in Clark's derangement, he acknowledges his imperfect nature, but says he feels at home with it and doesn't want to change. The self-destructive byproduct of this decision is clear in the scenes that follow. The movie concludes with a scientist interviewing Dr. Klein about her experiences in the back rooms, during which the scientist admits that portals to back rooms are popping up all over the world, and that understanding this new terrain is of utmost importance to humanity at present. Given the back rooms reality as a mental labyrinth of the human psyche, this abundance of portals suggests that people are beginning to investigate their own inner worlds rather than simply remain absorbed in external circumstances. The movie's conclusion that people are waking up to the necessity of investigating their own consciousness beautifully complements the Vaishnava teachings from ancient India, as encapsulated in the following excerpt from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj's book called The Subjective Evolution of Consciousness. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, "Consciousness and personality are the universal basis of reality. Whatever we may experience is conscious. The reflection of a material object is within me, and the plane within me is conscious. The subject is consciousness, and whatever kind of thing the object may be, it casts its reflection into the plane of consciousness. The observer of any objective reality is involved only with consciousness from beginning to end, and can have no conception of matter apart from consciousness. Then a scientist named Dr. Murphy asked, how can we differentiate consciousness from mind? Srila Sridhar Maharaj responded, in the Bhagavad Gita, the path of differentiation between consciousness and mind is suggested. Indriyani paranyahur. What is Atma, the soul, the spiritual conception? We have to come to the world conception by a particular process. By the process of elimination, we can trace out what the mind is. It is said that the basis of the mind is acceptance and rejection. Sankalpa, vikalpa. I want this, I don't want that. So what is the mind? A thing that contains apathy and sympathy for the external world. That is the mind. We have to trace within us what a thing is. It is within us, and one has to enter into his own self and try to have some personal experience of what the mind is. Then, by internal analysis, one can try to come directly in touch with the faculty of judgment, reason, intelligence. By asking, what is intelligence? Where is it within me? We should try to find that out and come in touch with that directly. We should inquire, what is the mind? It is already within me, but what is it? And what is reason within me? What is the source of the mind and intelligence? And crossing the stage of the decisive faculty, what is the soul? We must try, as a yogi does, to come in direct touch with the elements within us. Mind and intelligence are within each of us. Why should we not be able to trace out exactly what they are, to see internally what they are? So these teachings and the potential to experientially validate them through a dedicated practice of Bhakti Yoga, these speak directly to the movie's director, Kane Parsons, who has a phobia regarding the apparent impermanence of consciousness, which he recently discussed in an interview with Dread Central. Utilizing the Vaishnava teachings to overcome this fear involves cultivating the subtle discernment to discriminate between the impermanent mind, which is within the transient material domain of reality, and our eternal consciousness in the dynamic spiritual domain, which is achieved through mantra meditation and association with gradations of advanced seekers. The cultivation of such discernment also has implications for the contemplation of limits and potential for artificial intelligence, which is something else that Kane discussed in the interview with Dread Central. So we want to reiterate that this movie, Backrooms, was beyond our expectations. It was a good movie, and it is an important social commentary that I hope other people pick up on. This video was an attempt to bring the ancient Indian Vaishnava teachings into conversation with the movie, and we hope that it can serve somebody, and that's all. Thanks for listening. Hare Krishna.